Happy New Year, dear listener. This is 950 KFM. Thank you so much for tuning in to 950 KFM. The voice you are listening to is not familiar in your earwaves, but this is Stephen Imbide. I'm just holding it for a few minutes before I hand it over to someone who will be stepping in for Patrick Kamara, your usual host. Not alone in the studio. This very first show for the year 2025, and this being the 2nd of January 2025, I should begin by wishing you, the listener, but also the guests in the studio here, a happy new year. Happy new year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
And our listeners out there.
And the voice you heard last is the one of the usual panelists here on Wednesdays, Mr. Moses Wiaruhanga. I was about to call you doctor. But you are a doctor in your own right, because you are one of the people who drive this economy, this country called Uganda, in your portfolio as the senior presidential advisor, especially on political and economic affairs, and which that you will be the gist of the conversation tonight, the year 2025 in perspective. But also I have Dr. Fred Muhumuza, an economist, but also a director at Mackay University Business School. Yes. Gentlemen, as we begin the year, maybe I should begin with you, Moses. You're always here on Wednesdays. So far, how is the new year for you, 2 days into the year 2025?
Well, not so bad. So far, so good. Yesterday, first, I had a lot of rest. I did my walking exercise. I walked about 6 kilometers in the morning and stayed home most of the day, resting. So, to me, it was a resting day. Today, I went to office to work. I was in the building alone. Many of my staff are not there. They think they will come back on Tuesday, next week on Monday. But me, all these days I've been working. And this should be a very tough year for you, given your portfolio. It's not tough. There's nothing new. Everything we are used to it. Being an election year, we shall handle as everything comes. There's nothing to worry about, especially if you plan. I only want to say that me and myself and Dr. Muhumuza are here. Can conduct this show in Runyoro. And I know there are so many Runyoro speakers and those who know the language in town, or within the radius of KFM.
But also we are also streaming online, so other people can view you, but also listen to you online.
Okay, fine.
All right, Doctor, for you, 2 days into the new year, how is it so far, and how is it going?
Yeah, like Moses has said, let's begin the way M7 does it, with vernacular, and then he goes into some English. Just for translation purposes, we are wishing New Year, people out there. 2 days, too early to tell, but of course, as we say, it is just in our minds that today is the 2nd of January.
Yeah, otherwise, life continues.
As far as cows and goats are concerned, they are continuing to get milked and look for grass. Our dates have just continued, and sometimes you now have people have dates and rent which does not know the beginning of the year, the beginning of the month. It kicks on from where you started. If you entered the house on 17th you pay your rent. So Ugandans need to know that this is just one of those other seasons that you should not break your legs.
And speaking about the cows and the milk, I saw Mega Milk just getting to the studio, and I know this should also be when you talk about investment and the like. I think you should begin from that line, because I've seen so many experts, so-called experts, but also economists talking about how the year 2025 is likely to be on both individual, or how they should take it, but also on the corporate and on the national level. On your perspective, what should we expect in the year 2025?
Which is actually, if one hadn't done well in terms of planning, you don't want to begin blaming 2024, 2025. Because when the sun set and rose and it was fast, a lot of things will depend on what did you do or not do in 2024. So people should not say this year was bad for me. You actually possibly made it bad for yourself. Now in Uganda, the good thing is our government financial year is 1st of July. So for companies that follow that, this is just another half year or another transition. Others will follow international calendars or whatever their cycles are. So I really want to encourage Ugandans that for purposes of investment, for purposes of personal survival and growth, it's always nice to have a year review. But go on and plan like every day and every week and every month matters. So if you should be planting your coffee, go ahead and plant it. If you must buy a cow or a goat to sell one, you want to sell on Christmas hoping that the season will be good, the prices will be good. You can have those kinds of things. But I saw people saying, I'm going to borrow money, I need to be going to the village. And I'm like, guy, remember,
set up a house in a village that you don't even spend
but others now are borrowing money to take a whole family. It's an expensive season in transport. And I'm like, you're going to come back in January, you have that date to pay, you have fees to pay, you possibly even have your rent to pay. Things are coinciding around there. Why don't you plan your life and flow?
Well, for you, an economist, and who has worked in government before, I'm sure such a day, I'm sure December is one of the best months for URA in terms of collection, because especially on the domestic taxes.
Yeah.
Because see, the sales, especially like in drinks, both in beverages, both soft and the hard ones, this is the time for those companies to sell. And remember, every bottle of beer, every bottle of soda or any other those soft drinks, water and so forth you're buying, has two major taxes, which are direct in them. The others indirect. There's income tax behind, but it has excise duty. For those which are manufactured locally, it has VAT. So you are buying. So with so many sales in the month of December,
the economy,
somebody is picking, at the treasury is picking money. Dr. Mumza just talked about people traveling home for Christmas. Fine. Every liter
of fuel,
I think the tax now is 1,400 or something like that. It was increased by 100. It's around that 1,514. So every liter you have bought going wherever you have gone, you have paid taxes. So somebody at the treasury must be very happy that this month. So in fact, I'm waiting to inquire maybe in the coming week from URA what were the collections for December. Definitely they are going to be much higher than other months before December. So, and for me, I look at it from another point of view. You know, in the West, you have this period, but also you have Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these days,
Valentine's Day, February,
all those days.
Packed in
there, but
save for the
no. They are for making money. Why? You see, people buy
spending
Father's Day. People are buying presents for their fathers.
The spending curve goes up.
Mother's Day, people are buying presents for their mothers, or they are going to visit them that week if it's around the weekend. So I'm talking about the Western world. So these days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day,
are good for the economy.
Are good for economies. For the manufacturers, for the producers of services, for them, they have time to make money. So I don't even. In fact, in Europe, there's a bank holiday. Can you imagine bank holiday? But all those holidays are for expenditure. People are moving out of town. I was watching the other day on CNN that this period, I think the internal travels in America have been about 40 million travels, and those are the ones by air. Then I was wondering, supposing somebody is spending a ticket at $300 for 40 million travelers, that's like $1.2 trillion.
And Americans fly.
That's about $1.2 trillion. Now, money just in 1 month. Now, you remember that people are buying tickets, but the airlines are buying fuel, they're doing this. And so these are days for economists to make money. So for me, if you can, here our holidays are just, people just take them for just staying home. But in the West, people are buying presents.
On one side, the economy may be doing well or improving when you look at it from your side, your angle. But also where I had put it to him is the other side of the individual, where when you spend more, where even some people even go to the extent of borrowing to spend, that leaves you in a debt trap that could also come back and haunt you.
You see, well,
as the year begins,
here,
even before the meeting.
Here, the challenge, and I would like to challenge people like Dr. Muhomuza, not for today, but for future. You see, in the West, that debt is funded by a bank. The credit card system.
Of course. That's why you even say bank holiday banks are closed. So you're literally on the credit card and the ATM.
The higher purchase. See, in America or in Canada or those countries, you can buy a car worth about $300 million shillings in Ugandan currency, but you pay about to 30-40 million cash. Then the rest you pay it over a period of time. But the bank is paying the producer or the seller. It is now a relationship between you and the bank, but the one who produces the car has bought. Exactly. So those debts you're talking about, people, if now here, my question is, what is required to operate a credit card system of that kind? At first, they used to tell us, there's no bank reference. People don't know. Stephen Mbide banks in the Bank of Africa. Tomorrow he goes to another bank, but the bank reference bureau was introduced. So I don't know what else is required, and whatever is required, if we did it, because those economies partly they are prosperous because people are on credit, a credit system which is guaranteed by the banks or paid for by the banks. So the producers, they get cash. It is now you, the consumer, between you and the bank. The rest, the economy moves. Now, if you, I wonder, if you remove the credit card system in the West, those economies can go down by maybe even 2/3 because for them they have no cash.
But that's a very good system when people hear say, how do we finance the economy? Because they, as you said, me with my salary of 10 million, I'm not required to pay the entire 300 to begin driving the car and benefiting from it. But even the manufacturer is not giving the car to me on credit. So it is the bank in between cushioning these entities. So at the end of the day, you find the economy is so well financed, and the interest rate is very low. So the bank intermediation process really drives growth, both on the consumer side and on the producer side. Now in Uganda, it is me to go to the bank and the producer to pay. I must pay the 300 million. So I get a loan from the bank. I mean,
and the bank asks you so many questions. You see, their credit card system, they will say at the beginning of the month or the year, depending on how you have been performing, they say, Mr. Dr. Muhomuza, from how you have been performing, you are now worth $10,000 in credit. So you don't have to go to negotiate. As long as you agree.
They will even not allow you to pay the full amount.
So you go and you don't have to negotiate. But here, to get that about 30 million from the bank, you might wait for 3-4 months. But there it is.
And then plus interest, you'll pay back 55 million.
You see, okay. I want also to focus on the presidential address. But before that, I know something big is going to happen this year, 2025. That is in March. Of course, processes have already begun. Talking about the exit of Umeme. It's a key event that will be happening this March, after 20 years of service in Uganda, but also in a year that we also hopes we are coming in, maybe by 2025 we shall be seeing our oil flowing. Up to now, we're still living in bold hopes. But the issue of the exit of Umeme, and then the promise I saw the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Dr. Ruth Nankabira, promising that now with the takeover by Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, that we shall be seeing lower tariffs, electricity tariffs, especially after the exit of Umeme. And many people have been complaining about the tariffs. How would you look at this in the year 2025 exit of Umeme, but also the issue of the power tariffs? I will be, after that, maybe Moses will be coming in, and then I will be introducing Judith Atim, who will be taking it over from me.
Well, I think there are so many planned events. One, the takeover of government, the energy sector is largely financed through the tariff. Now, even when UEDCR takes over, there are certain fixed costs in that chain. People will tell you 60% of the tariff we pay is at the generation level. That's not going to change because it's not a UMEME issue, it's not a UEDCR issue. Then there's about 25% or so which is the transmission, not even the distribution. So you're on 85% of a cost that has not been due to presence or absence of UMEME. And that is going to remain with us. Then when UEDCR comes in, UEDCR also will incur the same costs of distribution that UMEME was facing. So now that means the only a small thing you're left with is what was the profit of UMEME. And as the way I know government agencies, institutions, they may also want to make that a profit for one reason or another, they want to reinvest. So we may not see a very big significant decline because I've already had UEDCR itself has to invest. There is a lot of investment to be done. And that investment is going to be done through the tariff just like UMEME was doing it. Now, unless government finds a very big loan, and I can say I think they are negotiating a loan of about 430 million, payable over 10 years, that would be a very expensive loan, certainly. So we may still see the status quo continue in terms of the tariff because the tariff is not so much.
So the end user shouldn't jubilate yet.
Yeah, the tariff wasn't a creature of UMEME. That UMEME was the one adding a big markup on margin for itself. So that should be very clear to us. We should not jubilate because we still need to invest in the grid. Especially now at this point, there has not been a lot of significant investment. After you tell UMEME you are leaving, why should I invest that much, which I'm not very sure that is going to come through very quickly, because even the investments they have made, we are trusting that the Ministry of Finance will find the money that they are looking for, the buyout of their pending investments. So it's an evolving situation. I wouldn't get very excited. You just want to watch. As we've said, the year has begun, but if you were a bad loaf in the other year, I don't think this year the sun will just raise and improve your situation. If you are aware of, please don't relax the throttle. Keep conscious and optimistic and don't relax anything because it's a year. So let's watch that situation just another few months away.
All right, Moses, before we take the break, your take on
UMEME. I've been following up this matter, especially on the charging producers, manufacturers, 5 American cents per unit. This evening as I was coming here, I think it's the 5 o'clock news, I heard the chairperson of ERA board announcing new tariffs beginning this January, and they were reduced. But you see, we have been talking about 5 cents and 8 cents. So they were being announced in Ugandan shillings. I needed to convert.
Whether you really make real meaning, real sense.
Yes. But at least they were reduced a bit. So normally, ERA gives the quarter tariffs in the beginning of the quarter. But sometime back, I had meetings with the ED ERA, engineer Wako, Syria, and she had assured me with her team, we had gone through the figures, and the assurance was that with the UMEME buyout, they need about $160 to $170 million. They were just doing auditing, because every day they will be doing some investment. So probably it will range between $160 to $180 million. If that one is paid to them, you see, by government, it has been coming in through, they have been charged through the tariff, as part of the tariff. Then they also, in a new financial year 25-26, if we get money around the same amount, around $160 million to invest in infrastructure under this year, said if these two investments are made, we shall be able to have at least 5 cents for manufacturers. They went to go through the figures, even I have an email from them, which were explaining all this. Now, I have had discussions with the Secretary of the Treasury, Mr. Gobi Ramadan, and he has assured that, yes, the buyout funds are being organized, so this will be able to be a one-off payment. Now, as long as this money is not being passed on to the tariff, but it is within the normal payment of loans, other than you, the user, paying it directly, and then we get So I can, from that, have an assurance from the Secretary of the Treasury that the buyout funds are going to be secured before March and paid out.
And I don't know the explanation from the PS or from the government when, for example, the staff from Weme hear over the buyout and then the exit. For them, they know that UEDCL for now has its own staff, but as staff of Umeme, local staff for Umeme, what is the plan like? Because they are also...
those are Umeme staff. Umeme has to pay damages, not government. Government buys out Umeme. Now Umeme, the company...
but of course, you should also interest yourselves as government.
Some will be retained, because some are technical. They will be retained. Umeme, yes, UEDCL has some staff, but not to the capacity of Umeme.
All right, thank you, Moses.
So some will be retained, some might just be paid off terminal benefits. In any case, the majority of them running Umeme are Ugandans anyway.
All right. Yeah. We take a short commercial break, but before that, after that, Judith 13 will be taking it over from me. And I think you begin from the declaration that, or the announcement that we are about here, that World Bank will be soon could declare Uganda going into the middle income status. Previously, we had a declaration that Uganda is now in the lower middle income status. So from there, what will it take Uganda to reach there in the year 2025? We'll take a short commercial break for now.
Well, welcome back from the break. This is the Hot Seat. My name is Judith Atim, and thank you very much, my producer, Stephen Mbide, for taking us through the first half of the show. Before we dash into the World Bank and Uganda moving to upper middle income, yes. Let me first say Happy New Year, gentlemen. We last met last year. At least Moses, I think the last few weeks in December we were here. December. But Doctor, I think I last hosted you when? Much earlier in the year.
Long ago.
So it's a pleasure to have you, gentlemen. I'm happy we've crossed over safely. So yes, I was listening in, of course, the outlook for the year economically, especially. I think that's what the focus has been so far. You've talked about Umeme, of course, exiting the market and being and UEDCL taking over. So now, like Stephen said, let's talk about the World Bank, the big announcement that we're all waiting for. Uganda moving to middle income status. Some time back, I think a few years ago, there was that excitement that, Uganda is a middle income status, and then we realized we were actually not. Are we there?
Where?
Where are we?
To other standards. World Bank had not made its own standard. We are already there,
Okay, so what do you make of this? Just before we took the break, we actually had the PSST here the last, I think, Saturday. No, 2 Saturdays into, and we were having this conversation. There is at the macro level, of course, the indicators are okay, that Uganda is doing quite well financially, but citizens do not feel that effect in their pockets. People don't actually relate. So when you say we are now moving to a middle income status, what does that mean to an average, ordinary Ugandan, Moses?
Well, Judith, before you came, I and Dr. Muhumuza were talking about the two economies. We have a rural economy and an urban economy, kind of running at parallel to each other. So, depending on which side of you are looking at it, when you say Ugandans are saying they don't see the money, when you hear, for instance, like coffee exports have gone up, we have had good prices, but also the volumes have gone up. Now, who grows the coffee? Where does the coffee money go? To the best of my knowledge, for what they call Kase, the one where we have removed the husks, UCDA has been giving indicative prices. And the indicative prices would be that the buyers should not buy below 80% of the world price, of international price. So when the international price goes up, also the local price at which the coffee is bought from the farmers goes up. Now, with coffee, especially in Uganda, like other coffee growing countries, the coffee is grown at basically peasant village level.
Yeah.
It's not a plantation like...
it's 1 acre, 4 acres.
It's not like Homes has 100 acres, Moses has 50 acres, Judith has 20 acres.
Or 1 square mile.
Or something like that, yeah. So unlike in other crops like sugarcane and so forth. So you find that the coffee money percolates down to many people. That's one. So when you say, I hear you on radio, hey, January is a long month.
It is.
But somebody else sold coffee in January.
Doesn't feel how long it is.
It's short because they're the one spending. And you remember, for our climatic condition, January people are selling off their produce. Yeah. So for them, apart from coffee, the others who are growing beans, maize, and this is a month for making money. For them, they're making money. So, and most, if you look at our exports, even of all these commodities has been going up, production has been going up. So people are earning money. And that's what will bring you to the other issue of World Bank about the status, the income status of the population. Now, then you hear a program like PDM, especially now the financial inclusion, which has, because PDM has many pillars, I think 7 or so of them, but the one pillar which has been implemented, when you hear people who have borrowed money, we have so far spent about 2 trillion, or about slightly higher than 2 trillion, going to the population to engage in a commercial production. Now, those who have received the money so far, the 2 million households, out of about 4 million households which fall in that category, which is who are elected to receive this money, they are not the same like before. You hear somebody, I got 1 million, I bought some goats, someone bought piggery, somebody went into coffee. For the coffee farmers, maybe they haven't harvested.
At least 2.5 to 3 years, yeah.
No, 18 months, the first harvest. So those that haven't harvested, the one who maybe got in 2023, the end of this year they'll be harvesting. But others who went into, like livestock, and started in 2023, they already started benefiting. So, yes, for me, these are good for the economy. Even more people are in production. The only challenge would be, is there a market for what they're producing? That's a good challenge for me. But the fact that they're producing, even the one who never went into production, but spend that money in the economy, local economy, it has an overall positive effect on the economy. So I foresee 2025 economy growing much faster. Given, I hope, because most of our culture is reliant on rain, if we get good rains, the year should be good. Yeah.
Thank you, Moses. Dr. Muhumuza, we are moving to middle income. Is this? I mean, what should an ordinary citizen actually make of this?
Does it even matter to them? As Moses have said, we live in 2 worlds. The guy who had his 1 goat, he still has his 1 goat or 2 goats.
He's expecting to give birth.
Exactly. And if he doesn't get a good extension service provider, he's not sure whether the kid will survive. But he's also not about to sell that kid. So the goat will give birth, he will be wealthier, but pocket-wise, you can't even sell the mother goat or even the kid that the goat has produced. But at least you are happy your number of goats have increased. So a lot of people, as Moses has indicated, we live in 2 different worlds. Guys will still be out there looking at their own things. These are our own classifications. And you want to know why the World Bank does these classifications? I hear they are about to, until they do. I don't want even to comment, because anything can really change in between there. But also there are certain things that come up and you want to really say, okay, what does this mean? Getting into middle income status means you are no longer going to qualify for concessional loans from the International Development Association, because now they will say you are able to go on the open market. So the baby crib and this business of carrying you at the back is out. If you are going to church, if you are going to the well, you carry your small jerrycan. Now that may come with its own consequences, and you want to see what it will really mean. But at the end of the day, I will only wait to hear what the World Bank says, because I don't know who said they are about to. Until they do, I don't want to speculate. To speculate because it's the press. If they had not said the World Bank, if they had said the country manager World Bank or the country director World Bank, but when you say World Bank,
then that's a big thing.
Which staff was that? Who was that? Is that the spokesperson of the World Bank? But bottom line, we have been transitioning, and that would mean you are using figures because middle income status is based on the previous year. So you'll be looking at 2023, not even 2024, and you'll be looking at the gross national income. Some of the things, as Moses has said, it may not percolate down because the remittances alone are added to gross national income. So if you have more Ugandans going abroad and earning money in Dubai, earning money in China and India, you can easily move to middle income status. Now, who is going to feel that? Possibly directly the families that have their children and relatives abroad. Indirectly, it might seep through school fees. They have paid school fees. They have bought some land. They are building some houses. So it may get out there. And that's why they use the gross national income so that they can accommodate the incomes coming in from abroad. But that also means you remove the incomes made by foreigners inside Uganda. Now, that for me speaks to which strategy should we have if we want to grow this economy to 500 billion. We might say if we do our own infrastructure, it is good to produce in Uganda and have your industries in Uganda. But I might also say, why don't I tap and Ugandans can buy shares in companies that are already moving on? Then they just send remittances as a dual track. This is not to say you forget your investments at home, but you want to officially also try to engage and say, can I prepare Ugandans to go and work abroad? And after all, they are going to send that money here. So I begin to grow both abroad and at home. Just the way countries like China have done it, countries like Japan have done it, the US have done it. The other day we were looking at who has bought into American debt, who buys into American shares. Umeme has been here, the discussion we've been having. Some of the shareholders of Umeme are not local, but they had invested in Uganda. Now, where are Ugandans investing in an equivalent of Umeme? I don't know in which other country where you can go and invest, but which country declares big dividends, which dividends will find their way here. So we need to broaden our agenda and our strategy of growth. And for me, preparing Ugandans to go and work abroad, whether they are taking their labor or they are going there as investors, would also be a good thing as long as they send that money here. That will give us a proposal into middle income status safely, comfortably, and more sustainably.
But, I mean, talking about exporting labor,
it's not even exporting labor. It's really globalized trade. That's what we live in, globalization. I don't mind an airline, Emirates, and the pilot is a Ugandan, and the air hostesses are Ugandan.
And we certainly have capacity to do that. But
if I can go on Brussels Airlines, and what yogurt are they serving there?
It's mega yogurt.
It's mega yogurt. That money comes eventually to us and our certain cow. But it takes an investment that is not of an industrial park nature, but it's time of quality, to quantify and certify them that mega yogurt is quality, certified by an entity that they will recognize out there. These are some of the soft investments that propel you into middle income status safely, comfortably, and sustainably.
But how then do we actually ensure that we actually invest meaningfully to actually get to that level? Because, like, I mean, still we've talked about labor export, and you say this is about globalization. But still, the export of labor that we are engaged in is really still below par. I mean, when we're still exporting people to go as domestic servants. Not that all of them are doing that, but certainly it calls for some meaningful and deliberate effort to actually invest in a certain quality of the workforce, or even traders or economy who can actually go and engage at that level. So Moses, how would you then, picking from where Dr. Muhumuza has left us off, how would you then, you sit with the president, are there plans to actually get us there?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
One of the things Dr. Muhumuza talked about, of which Uganda and many other African countries don't engage in fully, is the investment in shares. Stock exchange, something like that. Even today, I saw on one forum on which I am, somebody was posting about the performance of stock exchange in Africa. Myself, I don't follow it so much, so I was, what is this? I said, Uganda is among the best performers, but I said, how? Now, here, he mentioned Umeme being going out, but it has shareholders both local and foreign. The local, they think the biggest is even NSSF, which is the biggest investor in Umeme. It will lose that business. But the issue is Ugandans, even Judith, especially at your level, would say, where do I invest money? I don't have time to go and do a side business and run it. So out there, people like you would put that money in the stock exchange. And the companies run professionally, and they make profit, they send you some profits. So here we are still low on that. I wish we should find a way of how do you, even sensitization alone about the stock exchange, how you invest in, and so forth, is important, so that those who cannot go into agriculture, those who cannot go into other types of investments, at least can invest in the stock exchange as a way of earning more revenues. That's one. Then the issue of growing the economy. How does the population of them, or when you say you are in the middle income status, have everybody's status gone up? Not necessarily, because it is a gross national income vis-a-vis the population. So you can be skewed where how you find the country is considered to be so rich in terms of per capita income, but the person below doesn't feel it. Now, that happens in many economies, especially in oil running economies. When you heard about, I don't know, Judith, you heard about the Arab, was it what was the Arab, what was Arab Spring? The Arab Spring, so many years ago. Part of the challenge was you have these youth. These countries are quite rich in terms of GDP, in terms of per capita income. But you have these youth, because the country is selling oil. So oil is owned by the state. But the people in their pockets don't have money in most of those countries. So the Arab Spring was the youth who had no jobs. They have finished university, they have studied, they have gone. Most of the state has given free education, blah, blah, to university. People have studied, they are qualified, they have masters, they have PhD, they have no jobs. That's what was the cause of the Arab Spring. So, but the countries were rich, both per capita and GDP, but the money was not reaching people's pockets. So, the difference in Uganda and many African countries is here. One of the drivers is agriculture, where people have some income earning, and since our growth is not basically from one commodity like it would be like oil, the oil countries, where everything goes to the state. But here, when you see the exports, the other day I was looking at figures, the export of manufactured goods had gone up from 1.8 billion in 2022 to 2.5 billion in 2023. I haven't got a figure of 2024. Now, when exports of cement, of steel and so on are going up, it means the people who are working in those factories, which are making these products, are also, they have guaranteed a job, because especially if your company is selling out, they are not going to start retrenching because the company is doing well. Unless if they go IT and they start artificial intelligence, employing artificial intelligence, and then they start reducing on the staff. When agriculture exports go up, it means the people who are involved in that growing those agriculture products and the ones who are processing them are earning some money. So the level of population tends to be much better in a country like if you have diversified exports, as opposed to the one which is depending on one commodity which is owned by the state, like oil. Yeah. I
think it's time for us to take a break, and then we will be back. We'll be taking a mega milk break. Be back. This is the Hot Seat. It is 7:46 p.m. and we'll continue with this discussion after the break. Of course, we're talking about what will turn around our economy in this 2025. Welcome back from the Mega Milk break. It is 13 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is still the Hot Seat. Of course, we've talked about a number of things. 13 to 13. It's 13 to 8, not 30. So basically, what then do you think should be the focus for, say, government, organizations and other institutions? Of course, also I want us to look at sectors like infrastructure, the benefits, but also the challenges that we are getting into. We know this is also quite a heavy political season for us. It's going to be a year that's majorly dominated by campaigns and so on, which tends to also shift focus from some of these critical issues or sectors that benefit the common person. Who do I go with? Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, well, as you said, the discussion Moses was raising, that's why you hear some countries have what they call unemployment benefits. Everybody must be within the system. So there are those who are disadvantaged, not because they didn't want to work, but because that's the skew of the economy. But really, the economy is about everybody. And when I always tell people, when I give somebody unemployment benefits, I'm just killing two birds with one stone. This person gets the 1 million or whatever it is, Nabanja grant, you remember? Now, where is it going to end up? Now that this person has money, he's going to buy Moses' milk. So Moses is going to be able to pay his worker. But if I didn't pay this person, Moses will be stuck with his milk. Now, Uganda has a supply-side economics. We always invest in the infrastructure to support manufacturers.
Not the
but
demand.
We don't say how are the manufacturers going to be able to sell what, because this is the basic way of financing a business. A bank will also look at your cash flow. Your cash flow is actually your sales. So even if I wanted to increase bank financing, I must first of all make sure these companies have increased the sales. Now, what failed to cause the Arab Spring, because remember when Gaddafi was there at the time, you get to 18 years, you have your bank account credited by government. Now, you're going to rent somebody's house, you're going to go in the supermarket, you're going to go in the malls and buy, the system keeps running.
The money circulates.
The money circulates, and you want to keep that money circulating. Otherwise, you get a clot. He's going to get clogged up. At him here gets the 1 million because she sold gold, $1 million. She can't spend it. Even if you do whatever you're going to spend, possibly $10,000, how do we get it out of you? We'll tax you differently. So you need to have those sets of policies and strategies that pick money from the big earners, spend it on those who are the low-income earners, but you're actually benefiting the entire economy. When I look through taxes, the biggest VAT is on data. Now, I hear people saying many Ugandans don't pay taxes. But people are buying data, whether it is 1K, 10K, 5K, that's the biggest source of VAT. So I would even be happy, glad with MTN when they give free data. You're not picking any man as URA. But what if they had money and they were actually buying? And remember, at the bottom of the pyramid, people spend this money. You give them 10,000, by morning they have spent it. Give Humza here 10,000, I'm not even sure where it has disappeared in my pocket. It will still be with me 2 weeks later. So you want to look into those dynamic of policies to say, how do we sustain middle income status? Well, natural extractives will get you there. You get a lot of money from oil, from gold, you get into middle income status because your GDP has grown, your GNP has grown. But will you sustain it when you have a poor population? Insecurity itself may crop up. Now Moses talked about coffee. The president rightly was saying, hey, quality of coffee is going down because people are forced to harvest the green beans because if they wait for them to get red, a thief
someone is going to steal them.
So how do you make sure those things are balanced? So sometimes development will come with its own challenges, but that's why we are here as policymakers to keep learning. And these are the reviews you want to say, midway of the year, where are we? Are we moving on well? And I was working with the people, we are trying to develop the theory of change for the PDM, for the policy development model. And we're saying it's not just about jobs, it's also about the quality of the jobs. So we want to track, Judith, her team has a job, but this job is paying her 500,000. Where is she 2 years from now? She should not just be on a job of 500,000. She should have transitioned. So not only are we going to monitor jobs, we also want to monitor the incomes associated with these jobs, because the president has put a task, 20 million shillings per year. So we want to make sure this household moves there. And as inflation goes on, the 20 million is also moving. The cost of living is moving. So we are fixing those things and we're watching these dynamics as they move out. We are only hopeful that this data will come through. Uganda has very little data for us to make some of these analyses. Even the job market, you wait for a survey. And even the survey is a sample. And then it tries to be projected out. It doesn't pick a lot of these dynamics. I look at civil servants, I don't think they are the best well paid. A civil servant earning 500,000, then you rent a house of 300. Then the cost of going to work and coming back is another 300.
So what are you
really taking home to buy clothes for your children? You're going to end up on Mivumba, because there every piece of cloth is 3,000, and that is what you are left with to buy clothes, leave alone food, medical, and all sorts of things. So there are quite a number of moving dynamics. But for me, middle income status demands all these, and more so, as we have said, it will disqualify us from the IDA. These loans we are getting from the World Bank for 38 years, 0.75%, 10 years of grace will no longer be available for us. We will now go to the Real International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD. And there, the loans are a little bit tighter. Sometimes I don't even look at what World Bank gives us as loans, much as people will hate the World Bank. Really, this is free, man. I've given you money for 40 years. Less than 1%. 10 years of grace.
Why are you even failing to pay back?
I'm just your brother.
Yeah. that's very interesting. Yes, Moses.
So, Judith, on what will grow the economy, many things. Of course, the Minister of Finance has been talking. The last time he hosted here, the PSST, Mr. Ramadan Gobi, not Gobi. He was explained what they are calling the ATMs, investment in the agro-processing. That is to take advantage of, because the government has already spent, like as of now, 2 trillion, that's higher, in a PDM. Now, what has been spent, people have invested, we needed to process. So one of the areas is agro-processing as a strategy. The other one is tourism, that is for tourism. Then aim is manufacturing and associated, because industrial parks, all those kind of things. But that, of course, not that those ATMs are not enough on their own. There's a private sector growth to the side. Before you came here, we were talking about in the Western world, you find most of the things are financed by the banks. Judith, if you're earning 1 million, the bank will say, "Oh, Judith, you can credit you up to 5 million. You can go up to credit." So it's automatic. You don't have to go even to seek for a loan. You have your card. You go to buy things. Even when your salary of 1 million is over, the bank will pay whatever you're buying, as long as it's within.
Because they know your credit worthiness.
Yeah, they know that. Now, that's still lacking here. And the fact I was challenging Dr. Mumuza, who is an economist, both as a teacher and also a researcher, to explain or to find out how can Uganda enter into that business of the banks credit financing by the banks for the internal consumption, because that can grow economy very, very fast. I was even thinking that if in the Western world, which uses this credit card system, if you removed it and people went by cash,
it would be tight.
It would be tight.
It would be really tight. That's for sure.
What is it?
I bought a laptop. I could not be allowed to pay my cash of 600.
You had to use a credit card. Yeah.
Not even a credit card. You pay 200. The rest you will pay over 6 months. Yeah. So I went and used my $400
on something else.
Yes,
so you continue spending.
And the economy grows. So I've been wondering, what is it? I've been asking myself this for many years. What is it that is needed to achieve that level? And I want economists and accountants, whoever involved,
let's start on the manifesto for 2020. You are speaking to your need of the day.
Yes, because, and I'm going to start on writing on it, by the way. I'm going to start on it soon. So, if we can achieve that, these economies, not only Uganda, but in greater, will move much faster, even in a shorter period than anticipated. Now, then, of course, the regional trade. We have here within East Africa, we have the East African ESC Customs Union. We are supposed to have free movement of goods and services. People moving for tourism. It is easier to go to Kenya, to other places. In Kenya now you need a valid ID, but the goods, we should have some non-tariff barriers. So if we remove those non-tariff barriers, our economies will grow much faster. Especially the one of Uganda will grow much faster. Then you have the African Continental Free Trade Area. Recently, I was reading some newsletter, and I saw that about 8 or 9 countries were already participating. And I said, where is Uganda?
Stephen, just remind me, we have 3 minutes to go.
I asked, where is Uganda? Then I asked some government system. Then I was told in December 2024, we're going to make our first export, and the other day I think it was made. So we need to take advantage of this market, the African market. It's a huge market, and if our culture fed into the African market. I remember I was looking at figures some time back. In 2015, Africa imported food items from outside Africa was $63 billion.
That's insane.
Here, Uganda, you see, we're an agricultural country. Why is Africa importing food from outside the Africa?
We have a lot of food going to waste.
So supposing you exported the food worth $1 billion over the $63 billion. If you exported the food worth $1 billion or $2 billion over the 63, you would be a very rich country. our people, the population, because the food is grown by the lower farmer. So we need to take advantage of these platforms, the EAC and the
regional
Africa Continental Trade Area, if we can harmonize policies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Muhomuza.
Well, I think we have said it all, and the good thing for me as an economist who writes for policy and wants to see policies work, we're at a very good starting point. Moses has a blank page in front of him. We need to put some of these ideas into phase of doing the budget that will be the first budget in that year of the National Development Plan. So all the open ends are here. We don't need to go touring Europe to find out how this works. As I've said, if I had £600 and I spend all of it on a laptop, my rent would remain unpaid, money could remain unpaid. So the system there says, you go and start using the laptop.
Well, we trust you enough to pay.
Just pay 200. The bank will pay the other guy, the one who made the laptop, gets paid. Now, then me, I remain with the 400, and you can trust me. When I remained with the 400, I passed by a restaurant. I went to watch Manchester United. I don't know who they were playing.
But I
spent the 400, and everybody in that system was earning, rather than sending all this money to HP company, which now will just, as I said, blood clot. You must make sure the money is flowing.
The bank is earning, the government is earning revenue from what you haven't earned yet. Because for you have got credit, but as you bought, the government earned revenue. And
the bank may find pre-financed the manufacturer through a loan, a very favorable loan, guaranteeing them a market. The manufacturer is paying back the loan. So you want to work out all that system. So I find it a lot of issues that we blame the banks, and yet we haven't given them the duty to be able to do the policy environment, the legal environment, are all not here and not there. We can learn more, have little money, but let it flow around. You don't need 30 liters of blood, but all you need is your little blood to keep moving up and down, and I think that's what is missing within our systems.
Well, it is 8 p.m. and I think with that we call it a wrap. This is the Hot Seat. Thank you very much, Dr. Fred Muhomuza and Mr. Moses Birohanga, for your time and insights. We were focusing on what will turn around Uganda's economy in this new year. I mean, we haven't actually exhausted even an inch or a quarter. This should actually be a Saturday discussion, Stephen. Like, we need like 2 hours of this. But thank you very much. It's a good startup for the year, and it definitely opens up our minds to actually look at all the possibilities that lie ahead of us as we open this new chapter. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for you who has been listening in. My name is Judith Atim, and have yourselves a good evening. The Hot Seat returns next week, same time. Bye for now.